as our warm-up. Now, this test review is huge, you guys. And part of that's because Unit 7 was such a large unit. And so we're tackling this review over 2 class periods. What I want you to do as a warm-up for me is I want you to try 1 through 4. These are just Pythagorean theorem. This is stuff we've been doing for a very long time. Easy. So on that first one, again, as you're setting them up, and by the way, for these, we should show some work. 9 squared plus 17 squared equals x squared. Valerie, did you get an answer for number 1? Oh my gosh, my heart's breaking. Aubrey, did you get an answer for this? Yes. Okay, Valerie, we're doing the test review. Okay, I don't know what you're working on. All right, number 2, my setup again, x squared plus 11 squared equals 14 squared. Bear, did you get an answer on this guy?
I got 8.7.
Yes. Now, I'm not really going through this in great detail, only because I think for most of you this is easy. Do you guys feel like that this is pretty darn easy here? Okay, as we go to number 3, leg squared plus other leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. Izzy, did you get an answer for this guy?
X equals 4.4.
Thank you. And on my last one, number 4 over here. Now, number 4 is a little bit different because you have kind of these 2 triangles, but you have these congruent marks, class. So that means this side's also 18. If I maybe only view part of this triangle like this, I could set up my Pythagorean theorem and say, well, 13 squared plus, I'll say x squared equals 18 squared. And I can go through and solve this. And here we end up getting 324. Subtract that 169. We get x squared equals 155. And x comes out to be 12.4. Well, that's what I found here. So how am I going to get the full segment x? Does anybody have an answer for this?
24.8.
Yeah, 24.8. Because at this point, you have to do 12.4 times 2. So it's 24.8 for the whole length of that segment. That's really the answer here, okay? Everyone okay on that part? And by the way, this is what we should be doing. We should all be working on this review right now. Your test is Tuesday, summative grade. This will be our first summative for the quarter. Let's take a look at these word problems. Now, on your test, you are going to have word problems. What should be the first thing you do? Draw it out. An Olympic-sized swimming pool is approximately 50 meters long by 25 meters wide. Guys, what shape is my swimming pool going to be? A rectangle. So I'm going to draw my rectangle. It said it is 50 meters by 25 meters. What distance will a swimmer travel if they swim from one corner to the opposite corner? They want that diagonal. That was easy enough. Now we do our Pythagorean theorem. Leg squared plus other leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. So we've got 625 plus 2,500. Add those sides up. To get x by itself, I'm going to take that square root, and I get x equals 55.9, and this would be meters. Hey guys, when you're doing your word problems, we've talked a lot about this as we've done them, make sure that you put a unit of measure on them. So I don't want to just say 55.9. We want to actually be specific, 55.9 meters. Okay. I want you guys to take a moment and I want you to try number 6 for me. Make sure you draw a picture. Let's take a look at number 6. So first off, setting it up, right? Your ramp is obviously always going to be your hypotenuse, your diagonal piece. So that would be my ramp. It says that it is 19 feet from the base of the dock, so that's gonna be my 19 feet. And you need to find how high the loading dock is. There should be a picture for you, okay? We go Pythagorean theorem, legs squared plus other legs squared equals hypotenuse squared. Connor, what'd you get for this guy? Yeah, very good. You should get x equals 6.2, and let's say feet, okay? Guys, on this review, it really is just a review. It's us getting ready, preparing. It's not a homework assignment. We're not turning it in. All of the answers are provided for you. We're just really reviewing. This is us preparing for the test. So in order, it does start off pretty easy. Let's take a look at the next topic. This was the next lesson where we're doing the Pythagorean theorem and the converse. Remember that converse is flip-flopping our Pythagorean theorem. So guys, this is what I want you to write into your notes. We take the opposite order of the Pythagorean theorem. So we're starting with c squared. We're there. That's the largest side. And we're basically comparing it to the other sides, a squared and b squared. If c squared equals a squared plus b squared, then we're dealing with a right triangle. If c squared is less than a squared plus b squared, that's an acute triangle. And finally, if c squared is greater than a squared plus b squared, that's an obtuse triangle. Okay. So we're flipping that order. That's going to help me determine what type of a triangle to classify it. And another thing in the notes that I do want to draw your attention to, they have a text box off to the right here. Let's read that. Let's take note of that. It lets me know that to be a triangle, the sum of the two smaller sides must be greater than the third largest side. We have to do that first to see, hey, is this a triangle or not? So let's take a look at number 7 together. Okay, class, I'm going to begin by just figuring out, could these three sides make a triangle? Let me add my two smaller sides. 20, 21 is 41. 41 is bigger than 29. So what that lets me know is that, yeah, that's a triangle. I'm going to be able to eliminate this answer choice. I know it's going to be, or it's not going to be, not a triangle. That could make up a triangle. So now my job is I've got to figure out which one it is. I'm going to classify it. As I go to set up my c squared and then a squared and b squared, which number should I go for c squared? 29. You pick the biggest side. So I'm doing 29 squared. I'm leaving like a blank box because I don't really know what the answer is going to be. 20 squared plus 21 squared. That's my setup. Now I'm just using my calculator to kind of go from here. So 29 squared, I get 841. 20 squared is 400. 21 squared is 441. Add up those sides. So we get 841. Well, since they are equal to one another, I know this has to be a right triangle. And that's how we classify it. All of this information was on our first quiz. So if you have that quiz still, hopefully you do in your folder, in your binder. It's just called Quiz 7-1. You could review that as well. So in this case, I'm picking right triangle. Okay, I want you guys to go ahead and try for me numbers 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so we'll just take a moment, try those. You're classifying. Get into this, guys. So for number 8, again, first thing I want to check is, could this actually make a triangle? 5 plus 9, that's 14. 14 is bigger than 10. So I'm going to get rid of not a triangle. And now I have to classify it. Lainey, what'd you say for this one?
Like
Oops.
the answer?
Yeah. 5 squared plus 9 squared. Yeah. 100, and then you've got 25 and 81. So you get 100, and this is 106. 100 is,
acute.
yeah, sorry.
I was
100
looking at
is
number 10.
less than 106. So this guy should be acute, okay? Any questions here for me, guys? Like, today is the day to kind of ask, to see. Between today and Monday, we're not really learning any new information. The test is Tuesday. If you do miss Monday, you're still taking the test Tuesday. Let's take a look at number 9, number 10. Riley, number 9, what'd you get?
I got not a triangle.
Yeah, if I add 3 plus 15, that comes out to be 18. 18 is not bigger than 18. So I'm done. This is not a triangle. We move on to the next one. Okay, for number 10, Eric, what'd you get on this one? Yeah, 16 and 21 gives you 37. That's bigger than 28. So I know it's going to be a triangle. And same thing, we're comparing c squared to a squared plus b squared. When you work this out, we get 784 is bigger than 697. That means it's obtuse. Everyone okay there? Okay. Now let's take a look at the first place that we might have been like, ruh-roh, this isn't as easy as Pythagorean theorem. I'm talking about our special little babies, our 45, 45, 90, our 30, 60, 90. Okay, so let's deliver the good news first. So the good news is you are going to have your reference sheet when you take your test on Tuesday. And when you look at the bottom, if you maybe remember this from the quiz, on your 45, 45, 90, in addition to it showing you that triangle, they're going to show you these ratios, x square root of 2. You will have access to that information when you take your test. One of the things that I want to add that's not on the reference sheet is that this is an isosceles triangle because your legs are always congruent. Do you guys remember learning about that? Legs are always congruent. That means it's an isosceles triangle. Okay. Other pieces of information that are not going to be on the reference sheet, but that we do need to know is how would we, let's say, find a hypotenuse if we have a leg? Well, the hypotenuse is going to equal a leg times the square root of 2. That is something I need to know because I'm going to have questions where I'll need to find a hypotenuse given a leg. Now, we also had situations where maybe they gave me the hypotenuse and then I needed to find a leg. And so we used another formula there. If I was looking for a leg, I would say a leg equals the hypotenuse times the square root of 2 over 2. Now, that's the formula that is kind of works every time. I'm going to put something off to the other side here. Another option you could go with is that a leg equals the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. Now that will sometimes work. I typically don't use this one because it usually leaves me with a square root of 2 in the denominator. And we're never allowed to leave a square root down in the bottom, so we have to kind of do more work, which is why for me, I like to use that first formula I showed you, leg equals hypotenuse times the square root of 2 over 2. So write that down, highlight as needed. That would be something that we do need to know. All right, let's try our 45, 45, 90s first. We start off so easy on number 11 because they're giving me a leg. That 5 that you see right there, you guys, that is a leg. So this is so easy, you don't even need a calculator. What's x going to be? Yeah, more than one person should have said that. 5. This is an isosceles triangle. My legs are the same. That is very easy. Okay, now hypotenuse, that's the side labeled y. What is that going to be? 5 times the square root of 2. That's because the hypotenuse equals a leg times the square root of 2. You knew the leg was 5. You just plug it in. Done deal. We don't need a calculator. We're not rounding. That's it. Should be pretty easy. When they give me a leg, that's kind of nice. So I'm 5 times the square root of 2. Okay, let's take a look at number 14. Okay, this one's a little bit different because I don't have a leg. I have the hypotenuse. Now, if you would like to write in your ratios, you can do that. Okay, so I know that my hypotenuse is 16, and that's my ratio, x square root of 2. I'm going to use that formula that I wrote up above. To find a leg, we're going to do the hypotenuse times the square root of 2 over 2. Plug in what you know. Your hypotenuse is 16. So my leg is going to be 16 times the square root of 2 over 2. Can we divide 16 by 2? So we're going to do that. And now my leg is 8 square root of 2. Well, we already know this is an isosceles triangle. My legs have to be congruent. So if one leg is 8 square root of 2, well, the other leg is 8 square root of 2. That's it. Okay. Last one that we're going to take a look at is number 16. That's the last 45, 45, 90. Okay, over here, I'm going to label my sides. So in my 45, 45, 90, I know that those legs are x and x, and I know the hypotenuse is x square root of 2. This problem is really kind of easy because, guys, all that I wrote up there, you are going to be given on the test, the x square root of 2. If you wrote that in on your triangle, all you literally need to do is look, open your eyeballs and look. If they're telling you that the hypotenuse is x square root of 2 and it's 19 square root of 2, what does x have to equal?
119.
Yes. I don't even need a calculator. I don't need to do anything. Well, if x is 19, that means that's 19 and that's 19. I'm done. I did not need to do one bit of work, honestly. That's it. Done deal. Okay? Let's take a look at those 30, 60, 90s. The 30, 60, 90s, I think, are a little bit more difficult than the 45, 45, 90s, but let's see. So good news again, reference sheet, they're going to give you not only the triangle, they're going to give you the ratios of the side lengths. Opposite your 30-degree angle is x. Opposite the 60 is x times the square root of 3. And then my hypotenuse is always going to be 2x. So write those in. This is your review, your study guide. Okay, that's what's going to be given with you. I'm going to write this off to the side. What you always want to do first is label the side ratios. The x, 2x, x square root of 3. After that, we always start with the given side. It's kind of like a little bit of a puzzle, guys. They rotate what they're going to give me, which side. If they give me the short leg, the long leg, or the hypotenuse. I have to begin the problem with whatever they're giving me. That's how I start these. And so let's take a look at number 12. That's going to be my 30, 60, 90. I'm going to begin by writing in those ratios. So there's 30, 60, 90. Opposite the 30 is x. My hypotenuse is 2x. The side opposite the 60, my long leg, is x square root of 3. Now, guys, when we were doing these, one of the things that we talked about was it can get a little bit confusing with x and y, the sides that they want you to find. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, perfect. Okay, so what we talked about doing in class as we were doing these is for just a moment, kind of cover them up. So in my mind, I'm like ignoring, I'm pretending that x and y are not even there because that helps me. So I labeled my sides. I have to start with the side that they gave me. This is the side that they gave me. That is going to be an equation. I know now that x equals 9. Not for the answer, but for my ratios. So if x equals 9, I just plug that back into these ratios. What would my hypotenuse need to equal? 18, yeah. Because if x is 9, well, 2 times 9, that's 18. What would this side need to be? Yeah, it's going to be 9 times the square root of 3. So now I'm looking back at this x and this y. The x value is 18. My y value is 9 times the square root of 3. Yes. Yes. All right. So what's really great, like I literally didn't even need to use a calculator, nothing like that. They're going to give you the ratios. Kind of easy. With a 30, 60, 90, you guys, this is the easiest scenario when they give you the short leg, because that's the ratio x. Okay, let's take a look at number 13. When you move to number 13, now they're giving me the hypotenuse. Once again, I start by writing out my ratios. Opposite the 30-degree angle is x. Opposite the 60 is x times the square root of 3. My hypotenuse is always 2x. Momentarily, I'm ignoring the x and the y that were already written on the triangle. I'm just pretending they're not even there. I have to start this problem with the side that they gave me. They gave me that side that's in the ratio 2x. They said that that's 22. That's going to be an equation. 2x equals 22. I can solve that. Divide both sides by 2. I get x is 11. I use that to plug it into the ratios of the other sides. So if x is 11, down here, the side that's just x, well, that's 11. This side that's x square root of 3, well, you know x is 11, plug it in. That's 11 times the square root of 3. I'm done. I have to go back now and pay attention to x and y. So the side that they labeled x is 11 square root of 3. That's where I'm going to place that answer. So just be mindful of that as you are writing in your answers. This side is 11. Okay. This stuff was on our first quiz as well, that quiz that's 7-1. So that would be something I would strongly recommend doing, is looking that quiz over. If you missed a lot of those, you need to go back and figure it out. Maybe you come for tutoring, we do it together, but you don't want to make those same mistakes when you take a summative, right? That's why we're learning from those mistakes. Let's take a look at our last 30, 60, 90, number 15. This is going to be my hardest case scenario because in this one, they're giving me the side opposite my 60-degree angle. That's the one that's in my x square root of 3. Opposite the 30 is x, and my hypotenuse is 2x. Once again, class, I'm pretending the y in this x just don't exist right now. To start it off, I have to begin with the side that they gave me. This is the side that they gave me, the side that's in the ratio x square root of 3. I'm going to make an equation. X times the square root of 3 equals 42. I have to solve that. Who could tell me what I do to solve that? Grant? Let's back that up, back that up, back that up. Right now, my equation says x times the square root of 3 equals 42. What's the first step I do to solve this? Thank you. You went to the finish line. I'm not quite there yet. So let's divide both sides by the square root of 3. I get x equals 42 over the square root of 3. Grant, can I leave that for the final answer? So what do we do now? Okay, we have to multiply top and bottom by square root of 3. This is something we talked about. It's called rationalize the denominator. We can't leave a square root down at the bottom. So now I'm going to multiply the top by the square root of 3 and the bottom. When we multiply fractions, you guys, you're just going straight across. So up at the top, it's going to be 42 times the square root of 3. Who remembers what's the square root of 3 times the square root of 3 at the bottom? Just 3. Okay, now, it's looking pretty good so far. I have to consider if I could simplify this. 42 and 3. Just the regular numbers, not the square root. Kylie, can I?
Yes.
Yeah, what is it?
14.
Perfect. So I get x equals 14 times the square root of 3 because I'm dividing right here. I'm saying 42 divided by 3, that's 14. Okay, so that right there, you guys, is the ratio for x of my triangle. I've got to go back now and kind of see where I'm going to put that. So my side that was just x is going to be my 14 times the square root of 3. But the other side that's 2x, I have to plug that in. X is 14 square root of 3, so it's going to be 2 times 14 square root of 3. Well, 2 times 14 is 28. So it's 28 times the square root of 3 for the hypotenuse. Now you can look back at your x and your y to actually write those answers in. Your x is going to be that 14 times the square root of 3. Your y is 28 times the square root of 3. So guys, you kind of self-evaluate. Do you have this stuff down or do you need more practice? If you need more practice, maybe you go back and reread the notes from this lesson. Maybe you go back and retry those practice problems, okay? But you're kind of in the driver's seat if you're prepared for the test or not. We've got one more thing we're going to take a look at today, and that's going to be our geometric mean. So let's take a look here. Guys, the geometric mean of two numbers, A and B, is the positive number x such that here is your equation. It's going to be a proportion. The x values are the geometric mean. We just put our numbers A and B in those other diagonals. Okay. So it starts off really easy with geometric mean because they're just giving me numbers. I have no figures to look at whatsoever. And so as we take a look at number 17, this is going to be the A, that's going to be the B. They're telling me, hey, find the geometric mean of 14 and 32. If I start with my proportion for geometric mean, I'm just plugging in A and B. So it's going to be 14 over x equals x over 32. That's it. Now, obviously, I have to solve it, so that's not quite it. But how do we solve proportions, you guys? Yes. All right, what's x times x? Good. I'm happy you did not say 2x. A lot of students say that. Do the other diagonal, 14 times 32. We get 448. What's my final step to solve here? Yeah. Square root. We'll round both or all of our answers to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to say x comes out to be about 21.2. Yes.
I finished the study guide last night, but whenever I was looking at my answers, like comparing to the answer key, you like translated it to like 8 to the square root of 7.
Because they did it in simplified radical form. So what you could do on your answer key is just plug that into the calculator to get the decimal. We always did it with the decimal.
Okay, so I didn't have to like translate everything.
You didn't have to simplify it, let's say. So 448 does simplify. You could simplify that radical if you were using your perfect square roots and rewriting it. Remember how we did that in that review lesson? We're not doing that. We're rounding these to the nearest tenth. Okay, so what I'd like you guys to do for me right now is I want you just to try number 18. Time-wise, we're just going to do 18. We'll skip 19 for right now. So take a moment there. Look, so your setup would look like this. You've got your proportion. You put x in the one diagonal, and then you put your numbers in the other diagonal. Again, these, I hope you guys think too, are pretty easy because you really are just solving a proportion. From there, we are just cross multiplying, and so we get our x squared equals 6 times 40.5, and you get 243. We take the square roots of both sides, And we're just doing this in our calculator, x equals 15.6. As Elisa pointed out, in the review, if you look at the answers, your answer says 9 square root of 3. Guys, you could just put that into your calculator to get the decimal. So you could see if you got it right. Okay, for the time's sake, we're not going to do 19 because I want to make sure you know how to do some of these other ones. Now, the other geometric mean problems are a little bit different because we have an actual figure. So let's take a look at 20 and all of these other guys here. Now, if you look behind me, we had two different types of geometric mean formulas. One would be if I have an altitude or if I need to find an altitude. And the other one would be if I have a leg of the right triangle or need to find a leg on the right triangle. So I have to kind of figure out which one I need to use. As I look at question number 20, I see right away that the variable x that they want me to find is the altitude of this triangle. So I'm going to use that formula for the altitude. Here's how it looks if you can't see the whiteboard. My altitude becomes the geometric mean. In the first numerator, it's going to be part of the hypotenuse. And in that second denominator, it's going to be the other part of the hypotenuse. So we're part of the hypotenuse, then we're the other part of the hypotenuse. And so for this particular problem, my altitude is x. That's what I'm looking for. Part of the hypotenuse is 9. The other part of the hypotenuse is 20. Guys, it wouldn't matter where you put that, if you put the 20 at the top, the 9 at the bottom. And then we're just on our way. We know this is a proportion. We're going to cross multiply. We take the square roots. And just like those previous problems, you guys, we'll go ahead and round these to the nearest tenth. In the answer key, it is not written like that, so you will have to convert it to a decimal. We get 13.4. For these problems, because you actually have the triangles, you would want to check to see logically, does that seem like a reasonable answer? 13.4, yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. We'll go with that, okay? So this, by the way, is like that formula here. This is not really like an actual, this is just me, my own words, how I view this. So that would be something we want to kind of remember, okay? Let's take a look at the next question. So when I go to number 21, I have to look at the figure. Guys, this is my altitude right here. First off, there's no variable on it. I don't need to find it. Secondly, they're not even giving me the measurement of the altitude. So in my mind, I'm like, altitude is out. I don't need to even pay attention to that. Here's what they are giving me. This x, that's a leg of the whole big right triangle. I got to go with this leg one. So the formula for the geometric mean, if it's the leg, you put your leg in the geometric mean space. At the numerator, you're going to put the adjacent part of the hypotenuse. And down here, it's going to be the whole hypotenuse. Again, that won't be given to you. I'm not going to have that on the whiteboard. That's not on our reference sheet. We just kind of need to know that. We figure it out. We get better at it the more we practice it. So let's go. My leg is x. Could anybody tell me what the adjacent part of the hypotenuse would be? Bear?
18.
Yeah, because that's the part of the hypotenuse that's touching that leg, or leg x. So we've got 18. And then I need down at the bottom the whole hypotenuse. What's the whole hypotenuse going to be?
33.
Yes, you've got to add 15 and 18. So down here, I'm going to put 33. Cross multiply. X times x is x squared. 18 times 33. I get 594. square root both sides. We'll round. I get x is 24.4. Same kind of thing, guys. I do want to make sure that that is a logical answer. Okay. So here's what we're going to do. For today, we're going to put pause on the review. What I want you to do is finish this, though. We should finish up to number 25 of the review, checking those answers. Monday, don't pack up yet. Let me finish what I'm saying. Hold on, please, and pause, because it gets so loud when you guys do that. Stop. Monday, we're going to finish this review, okay? You need to be studying. There's no actual assigned homework. Look at your quizzes. Look at your practice homework problems. If you miss Monday, you're still taking the test on Tuesday. Okay, if you need tutoring or want to come in, look at Canvas, look when I'm available. Our test is Tuesday. All right, now you guys can pack up.